welcome to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week, we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and today's program is a very special one for myself and my guest today. This weekend marks the second anniversary of the passing of one Prince Rogers Nelson, and as you know, if you've been listening to Out of the Box Radio for any time, I have been covering this with my dear friend, a gifted channel, Miss Abigail Noel, and we have her back today marking the second anniversary, and we're going to be talking about what she's doing on this second anniversary of his passing, how she is not resting, she is not sleeping because she wants the story to be told about the truth of Prince and his murder. So I want to welcome back to Out of the Box Radio our dear friend Abigail Noel. Abigail, how are you?
Hey Christine. Hey, Out of the Box listeners. Thank you so much for having me back on again, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
And as we know, this program is going to be airing very, very close to the second anniversary. I can't believe it's been 2 years, Abby.
I can't believe it's been 2 years either. It's funny because in a way it feels like we've been waiting so long, for this truth and for justice. And at the same time, things have moved so fast since this happened. So many things, have transpired in the last two years that, it doesn't feel like it's been 2 years at the same time. Maybe both things are true,
I think we're in a very strange time warp at this moment in time. For those who need to be a little bit of a refresher course, the official, or let's say on the day of, the official report was that Prince died on April 21st at the age of 57 at his Paisley Park home and studio in Minneapolis. His publicist confirmed that with the Associated Press, apparently. And according to a press release sent from the Carver County Sheriff's Department at that time, deputies arrived at Paisley Park at 9:43 a.m. and found Prince unresponsive in the elevator. After CPR attempts were unsuccessful, he was pronounced dead at 10:07 a.m. At that time, the cause of death was not determined. Shortly after that, all kinds of different theories had circulated. We heard drug overdose, we heard AIDS, we heard all kinds of different things. But I want to just ask you, Abby, on the day of his passing, can you remember what happened, what was going on with you?
Well, actually, on the day, I don't remember because I didn't even know that Prince had crossed until the 22nd, or it was either the late evening, I guess, because I don't listen to the news.
Just so our listeners know, you were not particularly like a huge fan or follower. You knew of his music, of course, but not like a huge, would you say, groupie or fan or anything like that?
No, in fact, I had never watched Purple Rain when he died, and I didn't know any of the history that he had, with Warner Brothers or what had gone on. I kind of thought, I think a lot of the world thought, when he changed his name, he gave up the name Prince, and he became an unpronounceable sign. And I just thought he was sort of an arrogant entertainer. I didn't know anything about the fight with Warner Brothers, why he was giving up his name. It was all about music rights, and he did die for music rights and money and what he knew. So no, I was not a fan. I really wasn't a fan of anybody. I liked him as much as anybody, but I never really got into knowing a lot about entertainers. And again, I didn't really even know that he crossed. It was actually a client of mine that told me. She sent me a text that said Prince died. And she had just texted me 3 days prior, and she told me she had adopted a new kitten. So when she sent me this text that said Prince died, I literally thought
it was the
kitten
cat.
Prince.
The cat.
Yes. Yes. And I said, your kitten died? And she goes, no, the singer, the rock star. And I went, oh my gosh. And I believe that was the evening. of the 21st. And then it was the following day that I realized his soul essence was with me, was within my presence, and was looking to get my attention.
And get your attention, he did.
Oh boy, yes.
Yeah. But before we get into that too, for people who are not familiar with you and the wonderful gift that you have, and which you explained to us that we all have the abilities, many of the abilities that you have a strength. I guess you'd have a stronger sense of, but we all are apparently psychic. But if you don't mind, just really quickly letting people know the work that you've done prior to having Prince come to you, and the history of the work that you've done. I know the cold case files, those type of things. Just let our listeners know a little bit about you and the gifts that you have.
Sure. Well, I've been what the world calls psychic all of my life since my earliest memories. I was raised with an atheist father and a recovering Catholic for a mom. So it was very interesting growing up, seeing and talking to Jesus. And about 11 years ago, so I've been in private practice now as an intuitive therapist, using my intuitive abilities to help people clear subconscious blocks and limited beliefs that are holding them back from really living joy, being happy in their life, and getting to their destiny, what they came here to do. With that said, again, I never look for a dead spirit to speak to, someone who is crossed, no longer in their body. But when I started working 11 years ago in private practice as a healer, I started realizing that God was bringing me cases. So the first case that I ever worked or was asked to work was Holly Bobo's case. And I did have communication with her mother and her grandmother and helped as much as I could on that case. And the second place where I guess now, and this has been a big one lately, is Lorenzen Wright, the NBA basketball star that was murdered. He was found in 2010, July of 2010. The day his body was found, his soul essence came to me. I interviewed him. We had a channeled conversation with him. He explained to me how he died and who did it. I got with the family, and so I've been communicating. I'm friends with the family members now, his mother and his sister. We've been together now and friends for this was almost 8 years ago in July. And so, I humbly say this, but confidently say it. Everything that I said, I told him that the man who, one of the shooters' name was Bill. The other shooter is Greg Lewis. He has since crossed of cancer, a man in Mississippi. I said both shooters would be from Mississippi, that a gun would be found, and that his wife set him up. All of that's come to fruition, and his wife, Shara, has been arrested recently, along with a man named Bill, who shot him. And again, the second shooter, I just found out recently, had crossed from cancer a couple years ago. So, and I want to make this point too. I don't just work famous cases. I've worked probably 50 or 60 cases over the last 11 years, and most of those are names that are unknown. They're names that I don't forget, and they're cases that I don't stop working. But it's a big part of what I do, in addition to working one-on-one with clients.
Exactly, and in particular on the Lorenzen Wright case, were you told why he was murdered?
Oh yeah, 100%. It was for money.
Ugh.
It was 100, and jealousy. It was for jealousy. His ex-wife, they had 6 children together, and she was incredibly jealous even after the divorce. He had a woman that he was pretty serious about, that he was seeing in Atlanta, where he lived primarily, and he also had someone that he had known and was seeing in Memphis. As well, but it was a big part of it was jealousy, but a big part of it was money. His wife spent over $900,000 of the insurance money she received in 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how much do we know how much money she got?
No, that I don't know, because there were different accounts. So I'm not sure if that's ever been made public. The actual amount, that I'm not sure. I do know that. Go ahead.
Isn't it interesting? So so much of well, especially when it comes to people who have crossed that are famous or well-to-do, it has to do either with greed greed, money, or jealousy, or a combination of both that plays into it.
Absolutely. And also I get a lot of this too. Tons of jealousy, tons of greed. And also it has to do a lot with the threat too, what somebody might know about somebody else, if that person is a threat to their existence or what it is that they're doing. So
right. So then they need to be eliminated because they're a threat to another person.
Right. And that's most of the cases I work. Very rarely do you work a case that's like Holly Bobo. That's not in the top percentile for sure. It's most of the time it's somebody that knows that person, and it's very personal.
Exactly. Now going back to Prince, since this is the second anniversary, and of course, corporate media, mainstream media is going to bring out there's going to be the Prince tributes. There's going to be a reflection on his work. I'm sure probably the studio, the record label is going to be maybe re-releasing something. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that are going to be coming up. But most importantly,
they're going to be making money off dead Prince. That's what they're doing. All of the people closest to him, Sheila E., the Time, all of them, nobody's speaking out. They're making money off dead Prince. Warner Brothers is making money off dead Prince. It's part of their business plan. They know they're going to make a certain amount of money off dead icons. They make more money off the singer when they die. They already featured 1999 Prince's song in the movie, The Kingsman Golden Circle. They're re-releasing. Literally what they're doing is they're introducing Prince to new generations so that his music will continue and he will continue making Warner Brothers and other people money.
But they'll bring Prince to new generations, but only the controlled image of Prince, not what he stood for, not what he was standing for in the last few years of his life, right?
Oh, 100%. That's why we're going to hear 1999 and Purple Rain and When Doves Cry until we're blue in the face, but we will not hear The Breath and the Scope. This man was one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific singer songwriter of our generation. He was taken from us a long time ago by Warner Brothers because this was all about creative control, monetary control and creative control. That these record houses, it's a gang. We have a gang that's running our entertainment and our political system. People know them as, shadow government, the cabal, the Illuminati. And it's real. And it's really, back to that, no, we won't hear the music that Prince did. I've been shocked since Prince died. And that's one thing I'll say for, people that really did follow him, that knew him. I've got a dear friend, David Jack Nelson. He went to over 200 concerts with Prince, some of these very personal, things. He was always at Paisley Park. Prince had a group of people that followed him. And when Paisley Park was open, if you were on the list, you could come in. And let's make a point here. This is important. There was no drugs or alcohol ever, not even a cigarette or meat. You had to have a vegan lifestyle when you entered Paisley Park, including drugs and alcohol. Everybody knows that. If you were caught with anything inside drugs or alcohol, you were taken off the list and you were kicked out. He didn't want that around him. He treated his body like a temple. The fact that they said he's a drug addict, it's just not going to fly at all. Anyway,
in addition to drugs and animal products, 2 other creatures were not allowed in Paisley Park, right before his
his sister.
Explain
and
that. Explain that
Roberts.
Again. Say that again. The 2 that were not allowed on the premises at Paisley Park were who?
Before his death, his sister Tyka had been banned several months, if not a year or so prior. Tyka Nelson, his sister, was not allowed on the premises. Neither was Jewel Roberts, the wife of Ray Roberts. These were his personal chefs. My understanding is, and this has been validated by some people that know, that both of these women, Prince caught in areas of Paisley Park that he didn't let anyone go into. And you'll remember, Christine, because you were part of that first channeled conversation. You were witness to it with Camille from California, nurse from California and healer. And I just know because we talked about it. You'll remember when I said women planted. There's 2 women that went into his bedroom in his personal space, and that they planted drugs. They're going to find planted drugs in Prince's personal space and belongings, right? Mm-hmm. And that happened. What's crazy is they didn't find these planted drugs though until days after. It was weeks after, maybe months. I'd have to go back and check at this point, but it was the most botched investigation ever. I honestly can't even believe we're still here 2 years down the road.
Well, it was a purposefully botched investigation.
Oh yes, it's suppressed 100%.
For our 100%. Listeners, go yeah.
And if it, I'm sorry, and if it's not, I just have to get this in there. The FBI has been involved in this case with the Carver County Sheriff's Department for about 18 months now. Okay, almost 18 months. So with everything we know, and Marie Paisano, she's a film producer that's making a movie called Journey for Justice. She will be with us in Washington, D.C. We're going to Washington, D.C. to ask for intervention. We'll be there on April 19th and 20th in front of the White House on the sidewalk, asking for intervention in this case from the president. Because guess what? We don't know where else to go. We've got the Carver County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. Okay, they're either suppressing this case or they're incompetent, one or the other. And Marie Paisano, who's a film producer, she has been putting together a jury of experts, a panel of experts to review the autopsy, the toxicology, and the police reports in this case. We have a criminal judge that says this is obvious suppression. Okay, he said, first thing I'd want to know is what does the family have to hide? Number one. Okay, he said obvious suppression. He and we now have the doctor that worked on John Benet Ramsey's case. He's working with us now. That's right. He's going to be in this movie. He's giving his professional opinion. And you know what he said? He said it's unbelievable to him. He said he's never seen this amount of drugs in any one human being ever. He said literally overdose would be inconceivable to him. The doctor, Michael Hunter, thank you, from Reels, Reelz, the show they did. They tried to present Prince like a drug addict. And they put their medical professional on there, Dr. Michael Hunter, and he says it looks like probable homicide. That's all he can come up with. They cannot find a medical professional to support their claims of overdose. Okay, and there's no way they're going to get suicide. This leaves only murder. And so now the prosecutor, Mr. Mark Metz, Carver County District Attorney's Office, he's in the process of deciding charges. And so what I have said, and I've talked to him, when I did the first channeled session with Prince, and you were witness to this as well, I was told that he had been being poisoned with arsenic for about 18 months. That's what they used to try and make him look sickly. The side effects of arsenic poisoning are digestive issues, weight loss, brittle bones, thinning of the hair. All of these symptoms Prince had, these would also be the symptoms of AIDS. So they first started poisoning him. These are his chefs again, who were plants. These are people who were hired by Warner Brothers to do this job. They received what's called a golden parachute. So did his sister Tyka and other people like Kirk Johnson who are close to him. What that is it's a guaranteed contract for work and fame and money. You just keep your mouth shut about what's going on. And the attitude is, that Prince messed with this gang a long time ago and they were going to get him anyway. And there's many people in the entertainment industry that feel that way. If you mess with this gang, you deserve what you get, like any other gang.
Well, yeah, and if he is dead, then all of the people that will gain from it, gain fame, fortune. There are many. So then you have many enemies, and then you can easily have a conspiracy to murder an individual. What I find extremely striking is, and we'll go back over his private chefs, which again, if anybody played the game Clue as a child, the very first people that you would
You would look at.
You would go, let's see, who has the closest contact with this person, especially since they're ingesting something. It would be their chef. But okay, let's just go back to yes.
Check this out though, Christine. I brought this up with Mr. Mark Metz, Ray Roberts, and you'll remember that. I said his chef was the last person to see him that night. I said he came home from this doctor's appointment angry, and he told everyone to leave.
Yeah, he was the last person. So the very last person that sees the person that died, nobody wants to talk to him?
Yes, and here's a gig. Remember I said, and he was one of the first people there the next morning. The very first, one of the first people there, and in the Associated Press interview that he gave 4 days after I made my first video public, and that video was given to the Associated Press, so they received it. Then they go and interview Ray Roberts and ask him all these questions. Did you regularly make Prince juice? Because I say, this is what Prince told me. Prince told me he was being poisoned with arsenic for 18 months prior to his death. He told me that he didn't eat his dinner that night. He left it in the refrigerator because he was going to have it tested for poison. He'd been at Dr. Schulenberg's at 3 o'clock that afternoon. And you'll remember, I said he was at a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock. That was validated down to the time.
Yes.
I even had the time accurate. Dr. Schulenberg also showed up at Paisley Park because he had a 9:30 a.m. appointment with Prince at his house. He brought additional blood work. And this is what I was told. He was going to take that dinner from the night before and have it tested for poison. Based on the blood work he had, he told Prince there was so much heavy metal in his system that the only thing he could come up with was that someone was poisoning him. Dr. Schulenberg knows this. Now, here's what's amazing. Dr. Schulenberg disappeared for almost like 4 or 5 months. Nobody knew where he was. No comments. You don't hear anything. Everyone was asking, where's the doctor? Where's the doctor? Next thing he pops up, he's on the other side of town in a brand new practice.
Oh,
just
God.
left his old practice. Like, what?
No comment, right? And no comment on the Prince case.
No comment. No comment on the case at all. No comment at all. Now, let's also go back to this. There's been several people that were very close to Prince that died. His nightclub manager from years before, they had been good friends. He died mysteriously a couple days later, drug overdose. How convenient. How convenient. Margot Chase, the artist that worked with him on Graffiti Bridge, purposely goes down in California. I know it was no accident. And Prince told me that there are 5 women, I believe it's females, I'm not sure, but there are 5 people, he tells me, that knew a lot of the truth. And he told me some people were in danger because many people, and he had also told people that he received, and it's true, it was in the press. It was all made public. He received a death threat almost 2 years to the day that he died.
And of particular interest, when I want to go to, because I am a Scorpio with 5 planets in Scorpio, so of course I am a Inspector Clouseau, Sherlock Holmes kind of person. And of course the obvious, I mean, you could have been Barney Fife and figure that there's some people that needed to be questioned, that needed to you needed to interrogate. Of course, one of them, or the main culprit, would be the chef, who was the last person to see Prince alive. So I would have him in a room for quite some time, along with his wife, who stand to gain quite a bit from this. But then also I would look at the other people that were close to him or who would benefit. Chi bono is the thing, right? Who benefits from the murder or from the death of a very, well, let's just put it this way. Prince was quite well off, even though Warner Brothers had stolen so much of his music and tried to place it as their own. But he was working on, I know he was working on many other songs. But when you ask who benefits, and you had mentioned that Tyka was not allowed, she was banned from Paisley Park. Now, to ban your brother or your sister right. from coming anywhere near you, and I don't know if he had a restraining order on her, and he just put it out there and said, don't you come, don't you bleep and come near me. But to have your brother or sister banned from your home, I would say that's probably something intense had to happen in order for you to do that. Now, this is what is really messed up, because there's so many questions surrounding his death. There's so many questions about this guy who's a complete health nut. doesn't do drugs, doesn't eat animals, yet now they're going to push on us the idea that it was an overdose or an accidental overdose. Is it true? Is it true, Abby, that the very next day they ordered a cremation?
Oh, yeah. He was cremated within 48 hours.
Wow.
Within 48 hours from the time. And then we waited, I think, almost 6 months to get the autopsy and toxicology results back. And that's the thing that's shocking, is what's been suppressed about the toxicology reports. Again, and you'll remember this, you were on the phone with me when I said, oh my God, I said they put his chef made him juice. I said a fresh fruit out of fresh juice, lemons and pineapples to help him with his digestion, right? And he put the drugs in the juice. I said they put enough in there to kill an elephant. It's overkill. And there was enough drugs in Prince's system to kill. People have different numbers, because no one, I think, really knows. It only took literally like a few drops. This doctor that worked on John Benet Ramsey's case, my apologies, I should have thought of his name. It's a very different name. But he was literally explaining it like this. He said these drugs were so strong, so strong. It's the most powerful opiate on the market. And the main drug, we're calling it fentanyl, but it's not. It was not just fentanyl that was found in his system. It was 2 different types of opiates and lidocaine, which is liquid cocaine. Now, there's no reason for anyone to be drinking lidocaine. That's crazy. Now, the reason lidocaine would be given with the opiates is because it ensures a sure death.
It stops your heart, right? It stops your heart?
Oh, it stops your heart. It numbs the heart so that you don't even feel the effects of the drugs in time to do anything. So the lidocaine numbs you on the inside, so those drugs just get in there and you don't feel it as much until it's already lethal. And then, as I said, what they did is they didn't realize how strong these drugs were. They put it all in there. It would have just taken 7 drops. But they put in like 10 times or more that much. There was enough. They said, different people have said different things. It's either 7 to like 25 princes that they could have killed. And again, what I channeled, and those were God's words, was that they gave him enough drugs to kill a literally adult elephant.
An elephant. I remember that.
Yeah. And what God told me is that's going to prove this case. They screwed up right there. And I say true. Now, what I've asked Mr. Mark Metz and why we're going to Washington, we're asking for intervention because here's what's insane to me. First of all, why hasn't additional testing for poisoning been done? Why hasn't additional testing for poisoning been done? And again, now with all of the things that I brought through psychically that are now evidence, that's called psychic evidence. So all of these things, I said he was at a doctor's appointment at 3:00. He was. I said his chef was the last person to see him. He was. I said that he didn't eat his dinner that night. It would be found in the refrigerator. That's true. Well, I also say he was poisoned with arsenic. And I say he drank pineapple juice. That's how they got the drugs in him. And so both of these things can be proven simply. Arsenic can be proven with a simple hair test. If he'd been given arsenic for 18 months, that will be evident in his hair. And that could be found out with in a day. So I've asked Mr. Mark Metz to do this. And then again, we're going to go ask the president to make a phone call and say, I want this testing done. Because if they prove that there's arsenic in his system, then we now have murder, period. We know the chefs, that puts such a finger on his personal chefs. What else? What were they putting it in his toothpaste? You know what I'm saying? Like, was he taking it himself? So then we know it's a conspiracy. And the second thing is pineapples are the only food on the planet to contain bromelain. This can be found. It's like a natural drug. This bromelain can be found in his blood, and his chef in that Associated Press report about 5 to 6 days after Prince died, after I made all this public, Ray Roberts said that he did not, that although he did regularly make Ray Roberts fresh fruit juice smoothies to aid in his digestion, he said the exact words that Prince said to me. He said, although he often did, he said, I did not make him one that evening. He's a liar. He did, because Prince told me he watched him make it, because I asked him, I said, why would you drink or eat anything from someone you thought was poisoning you? He said, because I watched him make it. I watched him make it. So he didn't know that those drugs went in there. He thought it was clean. He didn't know until he started feeling the effects. of the drugs. And what I'd like to know also from the investigators on this case and the FBI is, why was Kirk Johnson, Sheila E., and other people allowed to run all over Paisley Park? We know that posts were taken off his Twitter page after he died. The public knows, and we have proof. Okay, I told that they would find his laptop, his Apple computer on his bed. That's true. In the police reports, it literally says that his Apple laptop was found on his bed. And then in the next police report, 2 days later, it was downstairs in his office. Who was messing with the crime scene, and where did the food in the refrigerator go? Where did the juice go? Did anybody bother testing any of that? Where did it go? And if it was a crime scene, why was everything moved around, and why were people allowed in there? Why the hell Sheila E. would ever be in there?
No, they should have locked that place down immediately once they found his body. Once you find his body, then you tape it off and you say, I'm sorry, nobody's allowed in here.
Everybody's out.
And you go through that place with a fine-tooth comb as far as...
They should have done... Yes, sorry,
of course.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Of course.
I get so excited, though,
no,
because,
and
oh my gosh, he told me that they would find Tyka and Jewel's fingerprints in his room if they would have just looked, if they would have just dusted for fingerprints, and no one was allowed in Prince's room. That was his personal space, and people who were in Paisley Park will all validate that that's true. Also, Prince had every single room was wired for sound and had cameras in it. He watched everybody. He was suspicious. He told me he knew he had snakes and rats. He just didn't know which ones were snakes or rats. And so he was always listening to everyone. So where's the camera system? Where are the security cameras? Where's the video footage from the night he died?
Where's the footage? Exactly. Where's the footage?
Where is it? Where is it? So these are all questions that have not been answered. This case was obviously botched in a big way. And we've got Detective Meyer, okay, our Deputy Meyer, Sheriff's Department, Carver County, Mr. Meyer, okay, he literally said on the day Prince, he's on the news, he said, we will leave no stone unturned. We will get to the bottom of this. He even stated that it looks like a murder. Okay, that it looked nefarious. And now he's retiring. Isn't that interesting? Oh. Who's going to retire in the middle of the biggest case of their career?
Nobody.
He's retiring now. Interesting. And now we've got Dr. Schulenberg, who's in a new practice across town. Interesting. We have a nightclub manager that's dead, and other people close to Prince as well who've died since his crossing. I mean, there's no such thing as coincidence, only synchronicity. And we really have to start looking at what's going on here. In any other murder case, what do? You're going to follow the money. You're going to follow the money. But there's some very powerful people that had him murdered. So when you're that powerful, I mean, think about it. Someone has to be very powerful, had to been behind this, because how did they get a hold of these drugs? Where are these drugs coming from? And this is interesting because, we just had this big article that Donald Trump is now looking into this opiate crisis. And that's what we really need to find out. Where did these drugs come from? We need to find out who procured the drugs that killed Prince.
Well, and who had motive? Again, key bono. Who benefits? Who benefits?
But we've got to go all the way with conspiracy, and that's the thing is, what is the FBI doing then? If they're not, what are they doing? They've had 18 months to do nothing. But again, what I'm asking for is additional testing for the arsenic. There's enough that's been brought through psychically that's been validated as accurate. Over 88% of what I said happened to Prince has now been validated by the toxicology, the autopsy, or the police reports. So I want to know. And these are simple tests: a blood test, hair samples. We want to see if there's arsenic. We want to see if he drank that juice. If those two things are true, then this case is, bam. And, I can't even imagine that a prosecutor, Mr. Mark Metz, would want to make any type of charges in this case without leaving a stone unturned. I would want to know this if I were him. So we need to check and see if Prince was poisoned. That's why we're going to Washington. We're asking for intervention from President Trump because we didn't know where else to go. The FBI is not helping. Carver County Sheriff's Department's not helping. The judge in this case isn't helping. So we're going to ask the president to intervene and require that this additional testing be done so that we can find out. And the public has a right to know what happened to Prince Rogers Nelson. We have a right to know, whether the family likes it or not. We have a right to know.
And in particular, in addition to getting the toxicology reports, the sampling of the hair with the bromelain, which is the marker of pineapple, and also getting if there's any arsenic involved. The basic thing is, and like you said, the very basic thing is, we want to see the tape. Where's the tapes from that night? Where's the audio? Yep. Where's the security cameras? He had security cameras probably in every hallway, in every room, probably in his own bedroom. He might have had something because he was concerned. So where are those tapes from that time period? And
Tyka's husband, Maurice, is a security professional, from his own words, his own mouth. That's what he does.
Well, let's play Clue a little bit further, shall we? Or sure. Columbo or Rockford Files or Magnum PI, whatever you feel like, you want to put a Hawaiian shirt on.
He's a mess. I want to be Columbo.
Okay, you be Columbo. I like Magnum PI because of the mustache. Okay.
All right. You can be Magnum. You can go to Hawaii. I'm going to be Columbo.
So let's take a look at the people that would be involved, and let's talk about the actual, not the people who ordered the hit, because this is an ordered hit. All right, let's not talk about the ordered hit people yet, but let's talk about the different suspects who would have something to do with this. Let's start naming some folks, or at least numbering some folks. And I don't know why I know with the stuff that you've done, 7 seems to be a magic number, and Prince had even a song about, was it
all 7 and we'll watch them fall.
Yep.
Stand in the way of love and we will smoke them all. It's telling because much of Prince's lyrics speak what happened to him. He was trying to tell us about many things, and Prince was speaking out politically against this two-party joke that we have, against chemtrails, against the depopulation plan that he knew was real. And he was speaking out. He was doing small concerts. But going back to this, let's talk about the 2 people that were on the plane with him in Atlanta when they had to go down and they had to give him the Narcan. That's when they tried to set it up.
Was that the day before or a couple days before?
Just a couple days before, a few days before. And he had just done a concert, and he was coming home on the plane. Jewel and Ray were there on the plane. They served him soup. There's even a Twitter post about it. And he had eaten the soup when he passed out on the plane.
Fuck.
That's why he was already suspecting that he was being poisoned. He just needed proof. And that was when that's why he had the appointment with Dr. Schulenberg. That's why he had the blood testing done. He wanted to find out what was going on and who was doing what to him. So he has this incident on the plane. Judith Hill and Kirk Johnson. Now, again, I work intuitively. I am not the kind of person I'm not going to just go around and accuse people of this stuff. Oh my gosh, I would not want to be wrong. It's kind of a scary thing to do. But I also know what I was told. And let's not forget that Judith Hill was also present right at the end. She was very much a part of Michael Jackson's life right at the end before he died.
Tell people, wait, before you go on, tell people who Judith Hill is.
Judith Hill is at best I know, she's a singer and an artist who's been in the business a long time. She was born and bred for it. So she grew up in this culture and in the entertainment industry. And again, she was present. I'm new to her. I just found out who she was in this case. And the way they brought it to me, because they call her the spirit, God calls her Judas Hill. And I didn't do that. I didn't know who she was.
Right.
Judas Hill.
So she's
in
the entertainment industry.
Hill. They said they're going to roll down the hill. They'll both be held accountable, and they were going to try and make them the fall guys.
Right.
So they were going to try and make them the fall guys. But I'm here to tell everybody, and I told Mr. Mark Metz, the prosecutor, that's not going to work because there's people all over the world that know what happened to Prince, and we're not going to stop until all 7 fall. So there's Judith.
So she's in the music industry, and so she was close to
100.
So she was close and in on the Prince circle, and also another person who passed kind of mysteriously, but nobody questioned it. Nobody even bothered to ask about Michael Jackson, but she was also in Michael Jackson's circle, was she not?
Oh yeah, she was very close to him, and basically what it is she was using both of them. But Prince worked with young entertainers. He was trying to keep them out of this gang and out of these contracts that control the artist and can get them killed if they fight it. And so he was working against that. But again, going back to this, the only thing that I am aware of, and again, that's because I do my best to stay out of anything the media has to say or that's written, so that I know what I received was from God. And what I was shown is that, again, it's the first thing is they said Judas Hill. They told me that she was very much a part of the plan, okay, and that was a setup. They wanted to do something that was going to make Prince look like a drug addict, that would hit the news, so that when he died, the public would swallow it. Okay, that's what they do. A lot of people know about this, but a lot of times you'll see like a false report about a star dying, and then a couple months later they really do. Okay, it happens a lot. It's weird, but it does. And it's all about programming. Okay, the subconscious mind is very powerful. We see things and don't remember consciously, but the subconscious mind is picking up everything all the time. Okay, so they've been trying to set it up for a while. First, they told us Prince had AIDS. Then they tried to set it up as if, he's looking sick, or he's frail, or he's had the hip surgery, ding, ding, ding. So now we start rolling it into the drug addict. The AIDS thing wasn't going to work. And by the way, the autopsy proves there was no disease and no AIDS in Prince's body. So that was all a lie. Where did that come from? But again, we've got Judith Hill, we've got Kirk Johnson, then the chefs. They're all in on it. And the words I was given from Spirit is they're what's called paid plants that are hired by the Illuminati to carry these things out, and they receive deals. It's like any other gang. You work for the gang and you move your way up. The more valuable you are to the gang and the more loyal, the more elevated you become. Some people are loyal to this gang because they're loyal to money. So going back to that, then we have Ray and Jewel Roberts, his chefs. And what's really interesting about that, well, let's just say they've been in this business for a long time. They literally used to cater for the Queen. So let me just say that. And we've got big Illuminati ties over there in the UK, and to this entertainment gang. It's been that way for a very long time. Next we have, so there's four. Then I was shown that, and again, the way that I'm shown this is responsibility. If someone has knowledge that this is going to happen and they're not speaking the truth and they're profiting off his death, then they're considered responsible as well. Now, Taika, and you'll remember this, she was the first one brought through by Spirit as being someone who was most responsible for pulling the most strings in making this happen.
And that's Taika, which
his
is
sister,
his sister.
Taika Nelson.
Correct.
100%.
The one he banned from his home at Paisley Park.
Correct. Okay. Correct. And let's not forget, and people know this, it was made very public, but Prince paid for his sister's drug rehab on 4 different occasions, if not more, publicly 4 times. And all I would say about that is you can ask any drug counselor, psychiatrist, whoever, psychologist. He's not going to pay for his sister's rehab 4 times if he's a drug addict himself.
Right.
That's just not the way it works. So again, now there's Taika. My understanding is that Sheila E. had knowledge, okay, full knowledge, and that she'd been resentful of Prince for a long time, basically kind of like a scorned lover, and she felt Prince, she should have been paid more for some of the work that she'd done. That has all been validated. I mean, Spirit gave me all that. And then after the fact, over the last 2 years, I've had that validated by people who would know. And let's not forget, and this is a fact, he told his hairdresser, Kim Berry, she was his hairdresser, I think, for like 30 years or a very long time. He told her towards the end, at least on several occasions, 3, if not more occasions, that he was starting to suspect that he was being poisoned. All the last times that he went and saw her. And the fact that people aren't speaking up and the people close to him aren't speaking up more for him is crazy. In fact, Kim Berry's selling socks.
Oh God, no, not Prince socks. No.
She's selling socks.
Fuck that shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was just...
So his ex-wife Maite is selling his underwear, for God's sake.
Oh, fuck.
So...
they're vultures.
And writing
they
books.
are absolute vultures, and
Vultures,
it shall
100.
come back upon them tenfold. I swear to God. I know with Judith Hill there is something just so. She bought into the whole thing. She wants to become a star so bad and fame so bad. He actually helped produce her. He produced her. He helped get her on the road to fame. And then she told Rolling Stone magazine that and it was 2 years that he was mentoring her and taking her under his wing, and that she told Rolling Stone magazine that he never disclosed that he was in any pain. He was quick on his feet, but she said he never said anything that there was a struggle or anything like that. And then also when Judith Hill and Kirk, what's his butt, Johnson, they were on the plane when they did the emergency landing, right? When he ingested whatever that the horrible concoction that his chefs gave him. He was basically on a plane with a bunch of snakes. He was on the plane with the what is that movie? Motherfucking plane with the motherfucking snakes. He had snakes all around him. And she told the Rolling Stone magazine that while they were in Moline, she did reveal that she and Johnson remained by Prince's side throughout the night, and that Prince was, quote, very cooperative and, quote, serious about getting help. Now, what would you come away from that if you were anybody looking at that? Getting help? Doesn't that sound like, oh, he must be a horrific drug addict and he needs help?
100%. And what I'm going to, those were the lines she was told to say. She's in on this 100%. And, 100. And as I said, it takes me back again. Okay, then let's check and see if I'm right. Let's test for this bromelain and let's test for the arsenic. Let's see if I'm right. What the heck? You know what I'm saying? Let's, and that's, anyway, that's where we're going. But nah, she, it was all the setup. It's kind of like, the same thing. You can look back again, and what's tough about that is, I get it. You listen to that, and it's conceivable. It's conceivable. It sounds okay, but it's not what happened. It's not what happened. And let's not forget that the press first tried to smear him as and say he had AIDS to prepare us for this. And so, when we really look at that, and then, same thing with Michael Jackson. Nobody really dove into this or said anything because they'd been smearing Mike Jackson for years before they took him out. And that's what this gang does, because the same people that run this Hollywood gang and our politics are.
What I'm getting is this, that they thought they had him on the plane. And that's the
I think
chills.
They thought
that's
they
the
did
full
too.
chills that I got, and he was close to death, and they thought they got him on the plane because they had the two chefs, they had Judith Hill, this ingenue, they had Kirk Johnson, they had people that he thought that he could kind of somewhat trust, but he didn't. But they were the people that he had with him, and they thought they got him on the plane. And you know what?
I have chills as you're speaking.
They didn't. He pulled himself back into his body.
100% on that. And that parallels completely with what I was told. And that was that after the incident on the plane, they knew they had to kill him fast. And that would make
very
sense.
fast. Very
that
fast.
That would make sense and it makes sense that they tried to hit him on that plane, but he came back. The drugs weren't enough.
He wouldn't die. He wouldn't die. And they were probably going, what is going to make you die? We need to kill you. That was April 15th.
And I kept hearing this from Spirit, that he was very hard to get, okay, because he was very picky. He wasn't trusting anybody. He wasn't eating a lot, okay, at all towards the end, and that's why.
So the last week he didn't eat anything.
He didn't
eat anything.
Who was doing this to him?
The last week he couldn't eat anything, and he probably was so starving he wasn't going to eat the soup. And he's like, well, I'll go down and I'll watch him make my motherfucking juice.
Exactly.
Not expecting the fact that the pineapple hadn't been injected with something.
100. And here's the thing. And so that would also make sense as to why these amounts found in his system were so extraordinarily high, because they panicked. What they gave them in Atlanta didn't do the job. They were able to bring him back, right? And so then, they had to give him so much. At that point, they were panicked. And that's what I was told, is that they were really panicked. He was on to them. Okay. His chefs were worried that they were going to get caught in this process. And again, Dr. Schulenberg, the same doctor that he saw the day he died at 3 p.m., and I was told that Dr. Schulenberg told him that he got a blood test done. That was all validated. And he got the results that day. Dr. Schulenberg told him that the heavy metal, it was toxic in his system. That there was so many heavy metals in his blood that he had to have been poisoned. And again, I'm going to say this again, Prince specifically, and this, told me, I did not eat my dinner. He said that he hadn't eaten since early that morning. The autopsy literally says that he didn't eat for 8 to 12 hours prior. So that was all validated. How did I know that? And he showed me that he left the dinner in the fridge because he didn't trust the food. He also told me that he was going to have somebody test that food for poison. That would have been the end of those chefs. And they knew they were that close. Make sense? They knew he was on to them. So Ray panicked. He put all the damn drugs in there, not just he put it all in. All of it. And that's what happened. And that's what's going to get him. That's what's going to get him, because these levels are so high that you cannot say this was an accidental overdose. It's insane. Nobody would accidentally take this level of drugs. You would have had to intentionally purchase these on the black market. Why would Prince purchase these drugs on a black market? We know he didn't commit suicide. There was no note. There was no will. Prince was more organized than that. He didn't kill himself. And even his sister will tell you that. So here's the thing. Why would Prince, he just saw his doctor there that afternoon. If he needed something to control his pain, Dr. Schulenberg would give it to him. But they didn't find any prescriptions, right? Just one prescription. None of that. The drug that he was prescribed to control his pain was not what they found in his system. So why would Prince be buying that black market drug stuff that's not even released on the market to control pain and accidentally overdose with? He didn't. That's why. And he wasn't drinking lidocaine. Let's get back to that again. I mean, they found lidocaine. Lidocaine is almost always just used on a patch. You put that, it would have never, it was found in his stomach. And since there was no food and there was also no sign of any capsules or tablets, and he would have had to have taken at least 4,000 tablets, 4,000 tablets to equal the amount of drugs that were in his system. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. He didn't acquire drugs off the black market to control his pain.
What you just said was very important, Abby, that the lidocaine, which is usually done in a patch, and it's done in a very small amount. If a patch goes on the skin, which would go into the system, this is into his stomach, which means that he had to have ingested it.
Yes, he drank it. Yes, and you don't take a pill, so that means he had to have drank lidocaine. Who, for what reason? Someone tried to tell me maybe his throat hurt and he was trying to soothe his throat to eat. That's crazy. This is crazy. That's
not a world-class performer like that. That's bullshit. No.
And again, but we know he didn't eat for 8 to 12 hours. So here's the other thing. The only thing left, there was no food and no capsules found. So he had to have drank the drugs. What did Prince tell me?
Wait. Ray Roberts and Jewel Roberts also have a thriving restaurant?
Yes, People's Organic in Minneapolis. They've got 3 or 4 locations now. It's part of what's called their golden parachute.
And they have a special drink on the menu?
They have smoothies on the menu, and they have one made with pineapples and lemon juice.
Wow.
Yeah.
And let's talk about because we only have a couple minutes left, like a few minutes left. But let's talk about the other folks that are what are they doing? What about Tyka? What's Tyka doing? Is she mourning the loss of her brother? Nobody's really ever seen her mourning her brother. And not to get in, I'm going to stay with this with the
channeled stuff. So I think this was maybe the second or third channel conversation that I had with Prince, and also let me say, with Spirit, with Abba, about what this is and what's going on. I had no idea what a golden parachute was. That, I've learned that in the last few years, but golden parachute is the word that I got. And so in about the second or third, as I said, channeled conversation, I was shown that Taika, his sister, would go on her own music tour. His music like her own. She already is. She sings a song. They use him in the background, and she, sings over the top. But they're using his words, his lyrics, his voice.
No. She does not. No, she does not. No, she does not. She uses Prince's. Oh, God. Okay.
I was also told she would have television appearances. That's already happened. It's already happened. And she's going on tour right now. She's part of what's called the Nothing Compares to Prince tour. And so they're I think they in Australia, whatever, but they're going around the world. And she sings now. She's a singer, taking over her brother's spot, the place she always wanted.
Is she also presenting
on a reality
show for her?
Kind.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't see that working with her. I think what they're finding out is that her personality is not very sellable. But now they're stuck with her because, she's part of the conspiracy and plot to murder her brother.
And that comes through, and people can smell it.
Mm-hmm. Family members, the way they look at it is Prince got involved with this very bad gang along their fault, and he shouldn't have screwed these people over, period. Now, he didn't screw these people over, but some people view it that way because they're going to stay loyal to the gang because they want the fame and they want the celebrityism and they want the money, so they stay loyal to it.
Let's tell people first of all how to find you and where you're going this weekend on the second anniversary of the murder of Prince. Where are you going to be?
Thank you. We're going to be at Washington, D.C. on April 19th and 20th. Again, the anniversary is on the 21st, but we need to be there on weekdays this time. So Thursday and Friday we'll be there, and then we're staying through the weekend. We're going to stay there and ground that energy on the 21st and 22nd, and everyone's going to enjoy each other's company. Please go to www.justice4prince. Also, there's information if you want to come out and meet us in Washington, D.C. If you also know that Prince Rogers Nelson was murdered, or you just had your suspicions, you want to come down, you want to come down and join us, and please contact Mr. Mark Metz at the Carver County District Attorney's Office. Tell him that you want the additional testing. Tell him you want to know if Prince was poisoned with arsenic, and you want to know if he drank that juice. Contact the president, contact the White House, help us ask for intervention in this case. We, the public, deserve to know the truth about what happened to Prince Rogers Nelson. And you can check me out at my website, abigailnoel.com, and you can shoot me a message there.
Also, check her out on Facebook, folks, Abigail Noel, or you can also look up Justice for Prince. So I want to thank you, Abby, for the work that you've done on this case.
Thank you.
And we will not rest until there is justice for Prince. So thank you so very much.
Ain't no justice, there ain't no peace. Thank you for all your help, Christine. You've been beating this drum since day one and assisting me in getting the word out. And I love you for all kinds of reasons, but I love you for that too. Thank you for being brave.
Oh, I love you. I love you, and I love Prince. And I love you, listeners. Thank you so very much for listening this week. Please share this. It's going to be on YouTube. You can share the video of the podcast. Of course, if you want to make sure you never miss an episode, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or iHeartRadio. But I really encourage you to share the YouTube video of this show, because it's easy for you to put it on your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram. It's very easy for you to email it to friends and family. Please get the word out on this video of this show and spread the word about the truth about what happened to Prince 2 years ago. Thanks again for listening. And as I always say at the end of these shows, remember to always think outside of the box. Bye for now.